Welcome, brothers and sisters. The title of this one is Who Gives to God First? And it will be repaid him. Anyway, there's the StreamYard link. Feel free to come in. And I wanted to hear Brandon from the Greening the Desert Project, so I thought we'd listen together. And if you want to come in, hot dog. Ready, set, go.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Brandon, and this is the Greening the Desert Project. When we're talking about gardening in the high desert or arid climates, we can really expect that there's going to be some challenges that come with it. And the challenge that we're really looking at here on our landscape, specifically in this portion, is that we lack a whole lot of organic material, but we also lack the vegetation that helps interrupt a lot of the sheet flow that happens during our monsoon season. But that's where we can take example of our landscape, our surroundings, but also do a little bit of homework on indigenous or native tribes on their ways of agriculture. And that's what I'm going to show in this area that is called the rain garden. So the basic overview concept of what a rain garden is, but then showing the ancient practices along with current techniques with my own creative spin on them. So I want to show you how some of these designs and concepts might actually save you a whole lot of time and money, but it could also help improve the moisture content or the moisture retention in your garden area as well. So the first rainwater harvesting garden feature you could think that we're going to start with is our terrace or on contour raised bed. And honestly, in my opinion, with arid landscapes or high desert landscapes, because of the high temperatures that we experience during the summer even, it's really ideal to not really have raised beds in the sense that we're creating more surface area for heat absorption, which essentially is going to equate to warmer soil temperatures. And most plants don't like really hot soil. No matter how much you water them, they don't like it. But what's slightly different about this raised bed is that it is on contour. So when we do get the sheet flow or the big heavy rainstorms or even snow, we know that this whole earthwork is going to be stopping and slowing and getting more of the water to penetrate down below. And just essentially our goals with the garden bed in general, it's really going to dictate somewhat on the types of plants or vegetation that we want to grow in them. And there's just a couple things to point out with this, because this is only maybe a little over a foot off the ground as far as being a raised bed. So we're not having as much exposure, but we also have the nice rock layer to help absorb a lot of that heat. And then in turn, it'll actually help keep the soil a bit warmer at nighttime. And that's probably more beneficial in the wintertime. As you can see, we've got all this nice southern exposure. And there's plenty of sunshine in this area. But with being more specific about the kind of vegetation we want to grow in raised beds, we can do raised beds, but that's where we might want to consider growing more herbs or tuber plants, like carrots. Just any of the plants or vegetation that really don't like a whole lot of moisture and they can tolerate a lot of drought conditions or just dry soil in general. But then the other aspect is actually with tree planting, these actually might make more ideal tree planting areas just because we have this thick 1 foot layer of topsoil. And essentially, when we do have to transplant anything from pots, we are going to be digging down anyway towards the pot depth. So essentially, this is as tall as most of our pots that we're starting plants in. So you could think that the plants or vegetation is already reaching down to the original soil level, but in turn, it's already a lot cooler. There's going to be more moisture held in place, so a lot better growing environment. And then the added bonus that if we're capturing any water behind here, then that's also further soaking and hydrating any vegetation. And also this terrace bed, it was kind of a multitask approach, because in planning out where this was going to be and built up, that's where also planning out the other earthworks or other rain garden features in this area, it was taking material from one spot and moving it to this spot. And that's where building up the soil, even I did somewhat of a lasagna layer of straw and compost to the native dirt and soil. And then it was just last year that we topped everything off with the wood chip mulch. And that's the really cool thing to see everything that has been growing throughout this abnormal winter. We've got lots of grasses. There's all kinds of little leafy stuff in here. And then Nika actually had planted walking onions in this bed. So these have been pretty neglected, and it's pretty cool to see that these are just continuing to grow on their own. And then last year I was actually able to see a locust or a honey locust, one of those two, maybe a mesquite tree, but that was actually starting to grow probably out of the wood chip mulch. And so it'll be exciting to see come spring if it continues to grow or what it does. But I got a little something special though too for all these areas. We'll get to that soon. Since we live in the desert here, it doesn't make any sense for us to really build raised beds or raised garden beds, especially seeing as we have very little precipitation, averaging 12 to 14 inches here. And so we're actually taking example from the Zuni people in creating a lot of our different garden beds and different earthworks around here. And so the waffle garden is actually kind of an inverted garden bed, you could think, because we're essentially going to be digging down and creating little pockets in basically a waffle formation, obviously. And so the waffle garden's main aspect is that these divots or these little pockets of the waffle itself are going to majorly help with rainwater catchment. So each of these will be able to hold little pockets of water. And in that way, we're effectively soaking and storing more rainwater when it does come, which in turn, we're helping to build the soil up. It's also the benefit too, that we'll be creating mini microclimates within these little waffle pockets. And since it's just getting started with the garden season here, I've got the waffle garden space figured out because we're going to set this pretty close to our terrace that we actually had built last year and actually grew some plants on. So we'll continue building this area because we have a nice southern exposure and we have a lot of bare area here. So it needs a lot of help to begin with. But how I started is I kind of raked this area. I did a slight little line and slowly realized that I'm going to need the pickaxe. Now I've been able to line this out even better. And that's what we need is just the outline at least, essentially be able to take the shovel and just make our waffle pockets from there. And we'll use the dirt and the soil from scooping out to build up our sides, and we'll slowly pack those in as we go. And so with the outline, I didn't explain fully that with the choosing of this spot, it's actually in this location as well because of the contour line or the on level point on this ground. So our terrace is on the contour line. So everything's level. So when the water flows into it, all of that water is dispersed evenly. And so we're going to do actually the same thing with the waffle garden in our measurements here. Just need to make sure I follow the line that I made with the pickaxe. And then once all of the waffle garden is finished, then we'll know actually that all of these pockets will hold the water evenly. You don't have rocks in your area, you're lucky. If you've watched from the beginning of this series, you'll know that we're actually doing rotational grazing on the property with our goats and our chickens. So you can watch that video in the link or in the description box below. But essentially this area has been fertilized from the rotational grazing, also laid down straw and hay for added organic material. And then we'll also add compost when we're all finished up here. It's with the digging of the waffle garden that we're essentially kind of tilling and mixing all of this organic material and the fertilizer in as we're building up the waffle garden. So the depth of your waffle garden pits is going to be dependent on your personal preferences and your own goals. In our case, I'm actually going to go a little bit down so that we can actually add compost, cardboard, and other organic material later before we start planting in these things. I've got a really nice looking Zuni waffle garden now. I have the waffle garden all dug out. I've actually stacked a bunch of rocks on the downslope of the garden bed itself to prevent further erosion or anything else like that. This will catch sediment and all kinds of stuff. So now we got to start filling up our little waffle pockets. The way that I'm going to actually do it is I've got some cardboard, I've got compost, we've actually got wood ash from our rocket mass heater. So if you want to check out how we built our rocket mass heater bench, check that link out too. Now we're going to get all this filled up. All right, so we jump back ahead in time and we're here in the present. We're about 1 year later with the waffle garden. And I'd actually done wood chips later on once we got wood chips on the terrace. Then we were doing wood chip mulch kind of all over the place here. But we got wood chip mulch down and I didn't really plant anything. It was more just observing through the monsoon season. But even beforehand, I had dug out more waffle pockets. So the waffle garden has actually been extended by a few pockets here. And really the fun part was just watching through the monsoon season and the really heavy downpours just to see how these all reacted. But then also we got a nice little snow dump, so we got to see how this actually collected snow as well. So we got a double benefit there. But just the same as a lot of our other portions on our landscape, it is really curious to see what's growing in each of these pockets, even though no seed's been spread, nothing's been planted. There's all kinds of grasses, some leafy stuff. So we can think that there's probably some seed in a lot of the mulch even. So that's a plus. And that's one benefit I didn't really explain either before, was the fact that these are pockets. It just makes watering for ourselves even easier, because instead of trying to be so meticulous with the watering can, I mean, we essentially can just come in with a 5-gallon bucket and just dump it all right in one go and know that all the water is just going to soak right in this place, and gives us a really good understanding of why the natives actually utilized and took advantage of this concept. Now, since we've kind of taken a look at traditional and then ancient practices, now I'll show the combination design concept that I've got going on in this corner. So it's not only about the water harvesting, but it's actually the fact that we'll end up having to water plants and vegetables, everything in our garden areas way less. And when we do actually have to water the plants or our garden spaces, the water will be more so contained within the spaces and directed to where we want it to go, which is to the plants. I'm standing where I'm going to be doing our multi-tier or multi-step terrace system here. And these aren't just any terraces. These terraces are actually going to be embedded in the swale that we've already built, which accompanies all the rainwater harvesting practices and techniques that we're also doing around here. So I want to show you the rainwater harvesting garden area we've got set up and how this multi-terrace fits into the whole design. So we've got our first terrace area set up. This terrace sits on the bottom of our swale that sits on contour here. And actually beforehand, this was all chiseled out. So we have a contour line, and then we have a rough draft of a basin. And that enabled us to kind of get creative with this. So now we can have our first terrace at the bottom where there's going to be the abundance of moisture. And so we'll be able to choose plants and vegetation appropriate for the amount of water that will definitely be flooding this area. And then it's also with the mound on the backside of this that we're providing extra protection from wind and dust and a whole lot of the elements basically. So we're creating essentially a small microclimate within this terrace. And since this is the bottom terrace, this could be more susceptible to erosion if we're not careful. So we're actually going to be stacking a whole lot more rocks, especially on the exit and entrance points. But it's also the benefit of the swale that we've created this on-level trench berm, so to speak, that is slowing the water and lowering the momentum of the water. So we're getting more of a slow flooding effect on this contour swale as opposed to the water just rushing down in one continuous stream, basically. I got a little ahead of myself, but I had started the second terrace. So we'll have the second terrace lined out, as well as we'll get more rocks stacked on the edge here. So we'll allow for a footpath for one, so we can have easy access to the garden beds. But then also we're going to build up the soil layer slightly. That'll enable the first terrace to be flooded out essentially, and it'll be less water that will flood the second terrace. So we can choose a different variety of vegetation and plants or trees that will work, that don't need as much water or don't really like having wet feet or being flooded out. It's a big advantage that we have on our property with the abundance of juniper trees that we have. We actually have the abundance of organic material, already composted, full of life, microbial activity, all the good stuff. So we'll be using a lot of the material from underneath the trees because they definitely can use some cleaning underneath them, and it's not a bad thing. But then we can take a lot of that organic material and know that it's at least good fertile soil so that we can start planting all kinds of native grasses, shrubs, bushes. But then it's also adding the compost that we're creating here on top of it to add even more biology, more nutrients, and so we can grow that much more stuff here. So the material under the trees will be a really good source because it's free for us and we don't have to buy soil, but it's stuff that we can amend with compost to create our own custom little soil mix. But it's also how we'll be making a majority of our garden beds around here. So now we've got our double terrace system set up, capitalizing on the swale that we have to create basically 2 garden beds out of 1 swale. And we still actually need to lay down compost, and then we'll actually get some mulch in. And we're still kind of a little ways from planting, actually. We're just getting into spring really here. So we still want to wait because we still have a danger of frost, maybe snow, who knows. So we want to take our time. We've still got plenty more garden beds to design and build in this area in general. So we've got more waffle gardens, more terraces, more zuni bowls, and all kinds of basins. And I think this really just shows too that we can do these contour swales or these different earthworks, but we also don't have to just stick to the basics of things. We can actually get more creative in our designs, just with this example, taking a standard swale that's already slowing and stopping water, but now we're transforming it into a garden area that we know will also harvest more water so that we can grow a lot more plants. So it's really exciting to come back to these garden spots after a year, and especially this spot where it's kind of the hybrid swale with the terraced step down design in the basin area. And obviously all of the wood chip mulch that's been laid down has been super beneficial. And I actually did throw cover crop along with native grass seed before the wood chips had been laid down. But then that was the most exciting part, was observing through monsoon season and the heavy downpours, just to come back and looking at how much of the water was actually being absorbed in this area. And compared to the previous year when this swale had originally been dug out, there was a whole lot of water that was gathering up in this area. But then compared to last year through the storms, seeing this area was not mushy, there wasn't standing water. It seemed that all of the water was being soaked into this whole area, which I think the mulch is a big contribution, the wood chips and the compost mulch. But that's just the best part even about all of this, is I think there's probably the most amount of new growth that's been happening in this area. Definitely because of the seed that I threw down, but it's exciting to see everything that has started popping up. And we just got this abnormal winter too, so that's just the benefit. But getting roots in the ground, having stuff growing even through the winter, so sequestering carbon, getting more organic material, and working more with the microorganisms, hopefully we should see this area altogether start blooming and blossoming a whole lot more, and maybe a little bit quicker compared to the other areas until we do a lot more to these areas. So now hopefully you have an idea of how this whole rain garden area works, along with rainwater harvesting and incorporating that into our garden designs. But what's also important in gardening, especially in the high desert, is working with our local microbiology, because there is mycelium. We have fungal activity out here underneath the trees, so why not take advantage? And then in that way, it actually puts a lot of our vegetation and anything that we start growing at a better advantage, because it's going to start adapting more with the local natives. So who doesn't want to do that? Everybody's going to be making friends around here. And that's really something when we observe nature. The interconnectedness, the way that everything works with each other in this symbiotic relationship, or this symphony, you could think of it, in harmony. And so that's where it's not just about doing these earthworks and placing them wherever. There is a rhyme and reason, and that's where we can actually go into how all of these earthworks actually interconnect with each other. Oh yeah, I was supposed to talk about what I was doing over here too.
The sun is a cold-blooded king on a throne of grit, and the wind is a whip for the quits.
Sven, David.
Hello.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Good to see you, Wes. Thank you for letting me on.
Well, yeah, right. Are you drunk today, or are you just here to sober up?
Yeah, I just got out of hospital earlier on today,
Yeah.
so I'm fine. Yeah.
They haven't killed you yet?
No, I've had a few head concussions over the last few days. That's why I went to hospital. So I'm not drunk. It's just my head's a bit
Of
confused.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my story too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus, was born with a heart 3 sizes too small, so don't blame me.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Preterist here to piss me off yet again. Hello, Preterist.
Wow, 3 times in one day.
Yeah, are you here to tell me that Christ's work on the cross was a failure, a rather large failure?
No,
Cool.
sir. No. How's everything going tonight, ladies and gentlemen?
Super sweet.
Yeah, good to see you, Predator. Yeah, good to see you.
So you want to use that British accent for us there, Bucky? Turn your mic on.
David.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking to Predatorist.
Yeah, he doesn't have
Since when have I had a British accent, bro?
Yeah, he's got an Arizona accent.
All right.
Right.
Herod and Pontius Pilate were puppets in the hand of God, and so are you. Acts 4:27 to 28.
And Preterist. You see, David, he's a puppet in the hands of God.
Acts 4:27 to 28. For of truth, in this city were gathered against thy holy boy Jesus, whom thou dost anoint, both Herod and Pontius Pilate, together with the nations and the people of Israel, to do whatever thy hand and thy counsel designates beforehand it to occur. Acts 2:23 to 24. This one given up in the specific counsel and foreknowledge of God, you gibbeting by the hand of the lawless, assassinate whom God raises, loosing
The pangs, loosing the pangs.
loosing the pangs of death. Yeah, that's what I was. For as much as it was not possible for him to be held by it.
Mhm.
I am not a robot, says the pro-Christian.
Hey, do you say that sometimes, David? Do you say
I
that?
am not a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do say that a lot.
Yeah, so the Christian says that, and you say that. Wow, isn't that something? You got a lot in common with Christians. Go ahead.
Yeah. If that be true,
True.
dear Christian, let me ask you a few questions. One, if you are not a robot, are you telling me that you don't do whatever the hand and the counsel of God designates beforehand to occur?
Yeah. Good question, huh?
Yeah. 2, did Jesus do whatever the hand and counsel of God designates beforehand to occur? I'm assuming you'll say yes to that one after a bit of struggle. 3, so Jesus, Herod, and Pontius Pilate all do whatever the hand and counsel of God designates beforehand to occur. What makes you so damn special? How is it that you can do things entirely independent of the hand and counsel of God? Does God even know you exist? Or did you somehow slip in under the radar apart from the operation plans and purpose of God? Are you somehow a God that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, does not know or control? 4, are you proud that you exist apart from God? Apart from the hand and counsel that God designates beforehand to occur. 5, if you're not a robot, are you a puppet? If you're not a puppet, are you clay in the potter's hands? If you are not clay in the potter's hands, may we assume that God is clay in your hands, and that God must do your bidding. May we assume from your very own words that God cannot save you apart from your free will, that God would never violate your free will. Well, he did in the Bible several times.
Oh, yeah.
With different people, yeah. By the way, just thinking, if God did violate your free will, would God suffer a heavy price? If so, what would God suffer for violating your free will? See Romans 8:20-21 and Romans 11:32. 6, do you think that Herod and Pilate, if asked, would say that they were operating freely in their role in putting Jesus on the cross? 7, how about the nations and the people of Israel? Did they believe they were operating freely when they demanded that Jesus Christ, our Lord, died that bloody death? 8, were they operating robotically? Were they marching along to a drumbeat that was orchestrated entirely by God? 9, what is it exactly that makes you so special? 10, what makes your will so almighty and uninfluenceable? 11, when Acts 4:27-28 says that the nations were among those who put Christ on the cross, can we say that you too had a hand in putting him on that tree? Or do you fancy that if you were alive at the time and were a part of the crowd, you would have been different? You would have stopped them from crucifying the Lord. 12, can a robot be programmed to say, I am not a robot? 13, would it wound your feelings to say that God is operating in you to will and do his good pleasure? Philippines 2:13-14, for it is God who is operating in you to will as well as to work for the sake of his delights. All be doing without murmurings and reasonings. Act 4:27-28, for of a truth in the city were gathered against thy holy boy Jesus, whom thou dost anoint, both Herod and Pontius Pilate, together with the nations and the people of Israel, to do whatever thy hand and thy counsel designates beforehand to occur. And as to the superbrain JG, superbrain JG, might ask, who is responsible for the words coming out of the mouth of Herod and Pontius Pilate? Well, we who know Acts 4, 27 to 28 know that the words that fell out of their mouths came from the hand of the counsel of God, designated beforehand to occur. 8:10 a.m. January 31st, 2026. Romans 5:20. Yet law came in by the way that the offence should be increasing. Yet where sin increases, grace superexceeds. Romans 8:20 to 21. For to vanity was the creation subjected, not voluntarily, but because of him, who subjects it in expectation that the creation itself also shall be freed from the slavery of corruption into the glorious freedom of the children of God. Romans 11:32. For God locks up, imprisons in some translations, altogether in stubbornness, unbelief in some translations, that he should be merciful to all. Oh, the depth of the riches and the wisdom and the knowledge of God, how inscrutable are his judgments and untraceable his ways. For who knew the mind of the Lord, or who became his adviser, or who gives to him first, and it will be repaid him, seeing that out of him and through him and for him is all. To him be the glory for the eons. Amen. Yeah, so what is your answer to that, preterist? It says several times that God is the creator of all, he is in control of all. I'm guessing that you are pro free will. You think we have free will?
He fell asleep.
All right.
So is it fun to get? How many concussions do you have now?
About 4 or 5 in the last
You
couple of
start
weeks.
giving them individual names.
No.
Oh yeah, you should start that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
get a get a magic marker and say this one is Freddie, this one over here that's Charlie.
Yeah. And I don't want to make it about me, but
Of course,
yeah,
that's what you say every damn time you come over here. Yeah.
yeah, I I I have been in the hospital for about 4 days because they had to do so many tests and keep me overnight. So it's not that I'm drunk; it's just that I'm very concussed and confused at the moment. I'm sorry.
How many fingers am I holding up?
None.
Well, sir,
But I'm better now. I couldn't even walk before. I kept falling over. I'm better now. Yeah. They kept me on a drip for like 3 days, like a constant drip into my veins. So yeah, I am better now.
Well, sir. Hey, I know what. I got an idea for you. A money
Yeah,
making idea. You could go
yeah,
on an international speaking circuit, right?
yeah.
And it would be called I Am Better Now by Wild Art. Crowds of people falling into the auditorium to hear you say, I am better now. I am Wild Art.
Yeah.
And you could say, I'm doing better than all those people in England who had mad cow disease. I am not mad.
Oh yeah, yeah. I am feeling better than them. Yeah,
See?
yeah.
How much would you charge for entry into the auditorium?
Nothing. I'll do it for free.
How are you going to make money that way? You got to pay the bills. Okay, how about $99 per seat? Right. So if you got 1,000 people showing
Yeah,
up, it would be $99,000. God, what you could do with $99,000, right?
yeah. No,
You
I
know,
find it. I find it difficult to spend money. I tend to just give it away.
yeah,
When I have money, yeah, I just give it away.
right. So just imagine having $99,000 to give away. Everybody would be your friend.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that would be good.
so how long would your talk be? 1 hour? 2 hours?
As long as you want it. Yeah.
Sure. What about a 4 hour talk?
4 hour. Yeah, that's nothing to me.
That'd be nothing. So you could just blather away for 4 hours, right?
Yeah, no, I don't like to talk that much. I'm wishing these two will come back, then I don't have to talk too much.
Oh no,
Yeah.
you see. Okay, so what else could you do up on stage? You ever heard of a John Cage concert?
I'm not, no.
Way back in the 80s, maybe even in the 70s. This nut job named John Cage would give concerts of sound.
Yeah,
He didn't even
yeah,
know how to play an instrument. He would give concerts of sound. So he'd get up on stage for an hour or two. He might bang some rocks together. He might turn a window fan on because that's sound, right?
yeah.
He might tap his foot on the stadium.
Yeah.
Well, you could do that too. You could talk and then when you run out of things to say, you could say, now we are going to enter into a realm of sound.
Yeah,
Here you go.
yeah. That's like it. Yeah.
Can you hear that? That's sound, baby. How about this? That's sound.
I'm guessing that she's banging a pipe onto an ashtray.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
are guessing. How about this? That's sound.
Yeah, that's your hand clapping against your thigh.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't we love sound?
Yeah, sound is good. I like sound.
I don't want to make this about me.
Yeah.
Tell you
Right.
all-
Back to the topic. Back to the essay. Yeah. Were there any points you were particularly interested in? Then I can give my opinions.
Yeah. Are you a robot?
No.
Are you sure?
No.
Are you predictable?
Yes.
Aha. We're getting close.
Yeah.
You are predictable.
Yeah.
And are robots predictable?
Yeah.
Well, see, there's 2 out of 2.
Yeah, but correlation doesn't equal causation.
Wow.
Just because we share some of the characteristics doesn't make me a robot.
Did you create yourself?
No.
All right. There's 3 out of 3. Did ACO say that you are a robot?
Did you?
Yes, I said you are a robot.
No, you asked, am I a robot?
Oh, all right. Let me tell you, you are a robot.
Right, I disagree.
Can a robot be programmed to say, I am not a robot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, do you remember the old computers with DOS in them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if A equals A, then... And then, yeah, you can teach your computers to say anything, basically. Yeah, even if it's not true.
Brothers, are you back? Hey, Sven, are you here?
Oh, sorry, I'm here.
What? Preposterous. Inconceivable.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just like putting away laundry.
Are you a robot, preterist?
No.
Are you predictable?
No.
You're a man of humor, that's for sure.
Yeah, you never know what I'm thinking or what I'm up to. I would argue I am unpredictable.
So far, I have not experienced that.
Really?
You are
It didn't take you to left field when I told you that the Jesus already returned?
you are incredibly predictable.
Well, shucky darns. I thought I had a leg up on you.
Yeah, so I did ask you a question, Pedrist. I don't know if you heard the essay, but there were several points in that where it said that God is the creator of all and he is in control of all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing, and that we have no free will. I'm guessing
Right.
that you disagree with that.
No, I agree.
You agree that we have no free will?
Correct.
So
Okay.
let me interrupt this, because you said at one time that those who go to hell, and your hell is they're not annihilated. Those who go to hell don't deserve to be saved. So how is it that they deserve to be saved?
If it is God's will that they be saved.
And they don't deserve to be saved, but everybody else deserves to be saved.
Well, again, you specifically said those that are annihilated. I said, well, of course, if they're facing annihilation, they have been deemed not worthy for salvation. But that's just me. That's a human speaking.
Right. Was Jesus annihilated on the cross?
No.
Really? So he
He
did
did
not
not face annihilation.
He did not die, huh?
Oh, he died. He was put to death in the flesh, but vivified in the spirit, according to 1 Peter 3.
So you've got a wildly different set of definitions, a floating scale of definitions as to what is death.
No, the Bible makes it abundantly clear. So that's what I'm letting you know. Like when we read the first epistle of Peter,
Mhm.
That is what he's claiming. He is claiming that Jesus was put to death in the flesh, yet vivified in spirit. That's what it says. It says here um, that he might lead. Okay, so it's 1 Peter 3:18. He might lead toward as fact the God, having been put to death as fact indeed to flesh substance, having been made alive as fact, but to animating blast effect, in the sphere of which, so he was in the animating blast effect, also to the ones in the sphere of the watchguard prison animating blast effects, having journeyed as fact, he heralded. So
You
yeah,
know,
that
you're
means that he was dead and doing things.
right. It does not mean that.
Okay,
He was
when
dead and
hold
doing
on,
he was dead, and he
hold
wasn't
on.
doing things until he was animated.
This is what this is what gets your entire paradigm off kilter, because Peter says, having been made alive as fact, but to animating blast effect, in the sphere of which, in the influence of this animating blast effect, he went into preach, to herald.
So
Well,
how
how
come
could
you
he
go
do
on
that
the
if he was?
channel? You know I'm not gonna go along with that bullshit.
That's what the Bible says, Ace.
Over
You don't
to
have to agree with it.
because JG doesn't believe the dead are dead, and neither do you. So why don't you go hang out with those lovely super brains over there and tell each other the good news that God is going to annihilate the vast majority of humanity.
This is the whole point. That's how Jesus is the firstborn out of the died ones, because after he died, he did things. That's the promise.
No,
That's
after
what Paul
he was
argued.
raised from the dead, he did things.
P, Ace, you are at odds right now with Peter in
Oh,
First
yeah.
Peter chapter 3, verse 18 and 19. You are
I,
saying that that's a lie, is what you're
I'm
saying.
saying that you are inserting a timeline and you're leaving out 3 days. He was dead
No,
for 3 days and
no,
doing.
no, no, no. The Greek, Ace, the Greek grammar proves you wrong.
I don't care.
I know you don't care, bud, but you can't deny the laws of grammar just because
I can
it
deny
doesn't agree.
your inferences on the translation because you're reading a translation that doesn't even follow anything that we would be familiar with who are just plain English speakers, man. You got some fancy translation that
Yeah.
sounds like gobbledygook.
Okay.
So
Okay.
speak
Let's
clearly,
make it
when
simple.
Jesus died, was he dead? Speak clearly.
He was put to death in
Was
the
he
flesh,
dead?
but
Was he dead?
no, he was not. That's
Go
the whole point.
go over to JG's channel and rejoice with those guys. So leave me alone. The rest of us are, going to die. And we don't have any hope beyond the resurrection. And you and your fancy talk tell us that death is not that bad. We can do a whole lot of shit during the time we're dead. Why bother with the resurrection if we're still doing shit? Are you happy now, Wildheart?
Well, that wasn't my fault.
I can blame it on you.
Yeah, you can. I just read the essay, then asked him a question, and then left it up to you. It's you that kicked him.
Oh, by the way, Doubting Thomas, could you come in? Oh my God, I don't do Bible studies with Christians. That's hilarious. JD is busy chastising Tommy. Oh, is that so? Well, are you looking forward to meeting Herod and Pontius Pilate?
Why are they in hell?
What?
Oh yeah, sorry, you don't believe me now. Uh, not so much. I'm not quite sure what kind of people they were.
Yeah.
I mean, according to the Bible, Pontius Pilate was quite quite a good person because he didn't want to put Jesus to death,
Mm-hmm.
which would indicate he was, he had some iota of goodness in him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about Herod.
So, in that great day, would you go up to Pontius Pilate and shake his hand?
Uh, I'm not sure because of all the Roman accounts. He was quite a mean dictator. Actually, what was it, Caesar who brought him back to Rome because he was killing too many people?
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
So,
He,
when you go up to Pontius Pilate in that great day to shake his hand, the first thing you're
yeah,
going to say to him is, I don't want to make this about me, but
yeah,
how would you finish
yeah,
that sentence?
yeah. But is it true that you killed quite a lot of Jewish people? Because then I wouldn't shake his hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you reckon you'll be a changed man in that day?
Going along with the biblical accounts, yes, I will be a changed man. Yeah.
Will Pontius Pilate be a changed man in that day?
Yeah. I would have to ask him some clarifying questions first. Yeah. To work out whether he was a good man or not. No.
So, if Pontius Pilate had been born in Liverpool like you, and and
Yeah.
and raised with a mom like your mom, would he
Yeah.
be would he be pretty much like you if he had been born in your shoes?
It depends. That's very complicated. It depends on genetics. And
If you'd been born in Pontius Pilate's sandals, would you behave much like him?
again, it depends on like genetics and stuff like that. It's not just whether you have the same kind of lifestyle and the same kind of mother and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it depends on your genetics, and
Uh-huh.
it's very complicated. Yeah.
So, was Pontius Pilate a puppet in the hand of God?
A little bit puzzling in the hands of God.
What?
What, sorry?
Was Pontius Pilate a puppet in the hand of God?
A public in the hands of God.
Puppet. Can you see?
Puppet in the hands of God. Uh, I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Could Pilate have done otherwise than what he?
Not if God exists and He has a grand plan and He is in control of everything, then He would have to have been a puppet, yeah.
Mhm.
But I don't know whether that's true or not.
Can you do other than what you are doing right now?
I'm not sure. That comes down to like determinism and non-determinism, and I don't know which is true. So again, I genuinely don't know. If determinism is true, then I couldn't do anything other than I'm doing now. If it's not, then I could.
Okay, let's say we don't even know what determinism is.
Yeah.
Could you do other than what you are doing right now?
It doesn't matter whether we know whether determinism is true or not. It either is or it isn't. It doesn't matter whether we know about it or not.
Did you choose to give yourself 4 concussions?
No.
How did it happen? You're an almighty being, right?
No.
You're a partial almighty being?
No.
Do you control anything about your life?
Again, it comes back to whether determinism. If determinism is true, then I don't control anything about my life.
I don't really care about determinism. Do you control anything about your life?
But I do care, and that's what it kind of pins on. If determinism is true, then I don't choose anything about my life. If it's not, then I do.
Tell me all the things that you control about your life.
That's what I mean. I don't know whether I control anything.
I see.
I don't know is a valid answer.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a lovely answer.
Yeah.
On a personal level, do you think that you follow the crowd, or are you like an individual, a loner?
I try to follow the crowd, but it rarely works. Yeah, I'm kind of an individual. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Not too choice though. Just because I don't understand a lot of the social norms and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. You like truth?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, I got a truth here for you.
Yeah.
Acts 4, 27, 28. Read that for me. It's a truth.
For of a truth, in this city were gathered against thy holy boy Jesus, whom thou dost anoint. Both Herod and Pontius Pilate together with the nations and the peoples of Israel, to do whatever thy hand and thy counsel designates beforehand to occur. The only trouble with that is Jesus was never anointed.
What
Apart from
does anointed mean?
It means to be blessed with like liquids and stuff, and yeah, Jesus was never done that. Like, except when when he was washing people's feet, or yeah, Jesus never did that.
Could the word anoint in this case be a fine figure of speech?
Yeah. So what does the figure of speech mean?
Do you know what a figure of speech is?
Yeah.
It's a minor little word or phrase that has a bigger meaning than what you might see on the surface.
Yeah.
So if Jesus was anointed, who anointed him?
But he wasn't anointed.
I didn't say he was or wasn't. I said if he was, who anointed him?
I don't know.
Of a truth. Do you know?
No.
Read it again.
For of a truth, in the city were gathered against thy holy boy Jesus,
Stop.
whom thou dost anoint.
Stop. Whose
Yeah.
holy boy was he?
Thy holy boy. I'm guessing that means God.
Oh, well. So you are somewhat familiar with grammar and vocabulary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was God's holy boy.
Yeah.
What does the word boy mean?
Young child.
Like a term of endearment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's God's dear one. So it says, whom thou dost anoint. So who is thou?
It doesn't say
And
whom thou dost anoint.
he is the holy boy of God.
Yeah.
Who would thou be?
Oh God.
God anoints him. Okay, yeah, we're making progress here, don't you think?
Right, so God anoints Jesus.
Isn't that an interesting, fine figure of speech?
Yeah, but it wasn't a literal anointing, was it?
Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
But it's a fine figure of speech that this holy boy, the boy of God, was anointed by God. And in the city was gathered against this holy boy. Who was gathered against him?
But it says whom thou dost anoint.
Yes.
Thou isn't God, is it?
Yes, it is, according to the structure of this long sentence. Thy holy boy Jesus. This is a prayer. Acts chapter 4, 27, 28 is a prayer that the disciples in Jerusalem were praying to God.
Whom thou dost anoint. That would indicate to me some kind of human.
Yeah.
Whom thou dost anoint.
So who was gathered against him?
It doesn't say.
Are you sure?
Oh, both Herod and Pontius Pilate.
That's two. Keep going.
Together with the nations and the people of Israel.
So that's four main characters here who were gathered against him.
So they all anointed him.
No. They crucified him.
So who anointed him?
God. God anointed him to be crucified. Isn't that a hell of a thought?
But that's not a normal anointing, is it?
I know. That's why I say it's a fine figure of speech.
Yeah. Isn't that also special pleading?
Special what?
Special pleading.
I don't know about that. But we've got these 4 characters on the stage. Who are they again?
Herod, Pontius Pilate, the nations, and the peoples of Israel.
And what do they do?
To do whatever thy hand and thy counsel designates beforehand to occur.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Isn't this an executive summary of the great story we have before us?
Yeah, it's just God anointing Jesus seems like a bit of a cheat to me.
Yes.
Like a bit of a get out.
Yes.
He wasn't actually anointed on earth by people. So he said that God anointed him,
To die.
which is unprovable, untestable. It's just it's it's kind of a get out, a kind of a cheat.
It's a cheeky phrase, right?
No, a cheat.
A cheat.
Yeah.
So, whose big idea was it to put Christ on the cross, according to this passage?
Gathered against Herod, Pontius Pilate, the nations, and the people of Israel. And the Romans, if we get to mention the Romans,
Yes,
which
the Roman nation.
which is the ones who actually
Right.
put into the
So, whose big idea was it? Was it their idea, or was it the hand and counsel of God?
It could have been either, but it's more likely to have been their idea. Because we can't prove supernatural causation for anything. So to say God did something, you would have to demonstrate that. And no one can. So it's more likely to be their idea
I see.
rather than God's.
Really?
Yeah.
So, God is not even in the picture here, huh?
No. Until someone can demonstrate the supernatural and that God actually exists,
How many
then God can't be the causation of anything.
how
He
many
can't.
concussions do you need to before you admit that you are not in control of your life?
I'm not saying whether I am or not. I'm saying I don't know.
That's a fine thing to say. You
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
So, how many concussions do you need before you admit that you're not in control of your life? You got 4 already, right?
Yeah.
You need 4 more?
No, that's not how it works.
How do you know how it works? You're the guy who said, I don't know. Maybe it works this way.
Yeah, determinism is either true or it is not true.
But you don't.
Those are the only two options, and I don't know.
You
So
don't. Good.
I don't know how many concussions it will take.
Right. Do you want 4 more?
No, not really. But can you get what I'm saying? Until someone can demonstrate that the supernatural exists and that God exists, any natural explanation is more likely than the supernatural, because we know the natural exists. We don't know the supernatural exists.
How do we know that we don't know?
We know that we don't know because we don't know.
You just said it. How do I believe you? Why? I mean, you're a man of concussions. Why should I believe you?
You don't have to believe me. I'm just pointing out the rational view. If we don't have anything, if we don't have something like the supernatural ever for anything, and we don't have evidence for God anywhere, anytime, then the more likely explanation is a natural one.
Right.
By definition.
Yeah, who could argue with you?
Anyone's welcome to.
But we don't have enough concussions to argue with you.
It doesn't matter about the concussion.
So I wouldn't be qualified to argue with you.
I'm either correct or I'm not.
I wouldn't know.
It doesn't matter about the concussions.
Oh, it seems to me that concussions happen on the head, right?
They have been on the head, yeah.
Yeah, and the head is very close to the brain, right?
Yeah.
And the brain is kind of like a firing.
Yeah.
And neurons snapping back and forth. Right?
But can you argue against the argument? If we don't have evidence for the supernatural, then a natural explanation, which we do have evidence for, is more likely.
Okay, I got one answer for you as to the proof of the supernatural.
Yeah.
You just said, I don't know. Man, it took a supernatural thing for you to say that. Cool.
Whoa, 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 why? Why did it take a supernatural thing for me to say that?
Do you understand the natural?
Not the entirety of it, but I know that it exists.
Isn't that something?
Can we both agree that the natural exists?
I wouldn't know. I don't know.
You don't know whether the natural exists or not.
No, I don't know. Can we agree that there are some things we don't know?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. There are lots of things we don't know.
That's way cool.
Yeah.
Count me in.
Right. So you don't know that the natural exists.
There are some things I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know that you have had 4 concussions. You said it, but what the hell do I know?
Yeah, yeah, you don't. I agree with that. But the natural as a whole, which is all that exists, you don't believe that all that exists exists.
Let me ask you a question that I find kind of supernatural. Do you think that death is natural?
Yeah,
I mean, for sure, death is everywhere.
yeah.
But isn't it kind of like written into our soul that when a loved one or even a stranger or even a historical character up and dies, don't we think that this is weird? This is not right. Something's not right about death itself. It sucks.
Oh yeah, it sucks, yeah. But that doesn't change. That doesn't make it supernatural,
I'm
and
not saying supernatural. I'm just
it doesn't it doesn't make a soul exist either. Just because it sucks doesn't make a soul exist, and it
see,
doesn't make the supernatural exist.
doesn't it seem unnatural? Whether it is or not, doesn't it seem unnatural? And don't we rebel against it?
It might do, yeah, but that doesn't change the fact of the matter.
I'm not asking for change.
What
I'm just having
what
a view with you, just conversating with you.
yeah, what we think about something doesn't change the fact of the matter.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, whether we think something sucks or not doesn't alter anything.
Do you think we have intuition deep down inside of us about things?
Yeah, we have like a gut feeling. Yeah, but they can be wrong as well. So that doesn't really help.
Are you reading anything these days?
Not really, no.
Is this the first channel you've hopped on ever since you got back home?
No, I've just ended my own live stream.
Who was there?
There was Halsey, Sammy, there were about 6 people though. PJ, yeah, PJ was
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we can move on. Sorry.
Oh, let's not make this all about you.
Yeah. No, it's not all about me. I think that was quite a good discussion.
Mm-hmm. Are you looking forward to your next round of concussions?
No, I'm hoping I won't be. I learned some stuff in hospital, and I'm gonna try and cut down, if not stop completely.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they found some quite worrying results from my scans. So I kind of have to cut down.
So, do you have a hardware store nearby?
Quite nearby, yeah.
So, if you're going to take up drinking again, maybe you could go over to the hardware store and buy some bubble wrap and put it around your head. I mean, looking out.
Wouldn't that be a risk of suffocating though?
Oh,
Or
you have
you
to
just
go pulse.
just mean the top of my head?
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Bubble wrap and duct tape.
yeah, yeah. And I'm sorry, yes, and I know I argue a lot, but it's just the way I am. Do you know what I mean?
You can't.
When I see something I disagree with, I have to mention it.
Is there
I know.
anything you agree with?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of it. Yeah.
Do you agree with bubble wrap would be better than concussion?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get another concussion though.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to start naming your concussions?
No.
You're going to keep a journal of the concussions you get and give them a name.
No.
When they were born and when they disappeared.
No. But like I said, I am seriously gonna try and cut down, so I don't think I'll have any more.
But what if I don't believe you?
That's fine. I can't make you believe me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, where are we up to? What's your next favourite part?
Oh, go ahead and read the whole thing again and interrupt yourself when you see something intriguing.
Oh, this is one thing.
Yeah, this is good for your head. It heals concussions, people say. Yeah. Because it makes the neurons fire in a different kind of way. Because you need that right about now. You need to remap the neurons of your brain.
Right. Herod and Pontius Pilate were puppets in the hand of God, and
Okay,
so are you.
So, do you reckon that Herod and Pontius Pilate had concussions?
I have no opinion on that. I don't know. Possibly they could have done, because it was very. There was a lot of fighting at that time, so it's possible they could have done. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead again.
Yeah. Herod and Pontius Pilate were puppets in the hand of God, and so are you. Acts 4.
Hey, can you believe that you are a puppet in the hand of God?
I can't believe that.
I can believe it because you have been sent over here time after time to bless my soul. And I go, wow, yeah. Wildheart is a puppet in the hand of God to bless my soul.
Yeah.
Well, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes and say, where's Wildheart? He's not here blessing my soul.
Yeah. I believe that you believe it, but I can't believe it. I couldn't believe it even if I wanted to. Acts 4:27 to 28. For of a truth, in this city were gathered against thy holy boy Jesus, whom thou dost anoint, both Herod and Pontius Pilate, together with the nations and the peoples of Israel, to do whatever thy hand and thy counsel designates beforehand to occur. Acts 2:23 to 24. This one given up in the specific counsel and foreknowledge of God. You, gibbeting by the hand of the lawless, assassinate whom God raises, loosing the pangs of death, forasmuch as it was not possible for him to be held by it. I am not a robot, says the pro-Christian. If that be true, dear Christian, let me. Are you sure that shouldn't be true?
True.
True. If
True.
that be true, dear Christian, let me ask you a few questions. One, if you are not a robot, are you telling me that you don't do whatever the hand and the counsel of God designates beforehand to occur? Two, did
Wait,
Jesus,
how would the dear proud Christian answer this first question?
if you are not a robot, are you telling me that you don't do whatever the hand and the counsel of God designates beforehand to occur?
Would they say, screw the hand and counsel of God, I'm going to do what I want to do because I'm not a robot?
Yeah, it depends whether like free will or not.
Okay, so let's say
Yeah,
they're all
yeah,
up in arms, being the human free will. So are they
yeah.
saying, screw the hand and counsel of God, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do? Is that what they're saying?
Kind of, yeah. And again, it depends whether they know what God has designated beforehand to occur. They would have to know in every case what God
Did,
wants them to do.
as an aside, do you think God designated you to have 4 concussions?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you did it all yourself, huh?
I think that was my fault, yeah.
Okay, very well.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Did Jesus do whatever the hand and counsel of God designates beforehand to occur? I'm assuming you'll say yes to that one after a bit of a struggle.
Why would they struggle with it?
Jesus do whatever. I don't know with that one, because if Jesus is God, then Jesus would know what God designated beforehand to occur.
Mhm.
So he would know. So he would do it, presumably.
They would say yes,
Yeah,
but they would be hesitant to say yes.
yeah,
From my experience with them, why would they be
yeah.
hesitant to say yes?
What? I don't know. Why would that be? Why would they struggle with that? It seems obvious to me.
Okay, go to on to 3.
Yeah. So if Jesus, Herod, and Pontius Pilate all do whatever the hand and counsel of God designates beforehand to occur, what makes you so damn special? Right. Yeah. So if they choose anything different, they're going against Herod, Jesus, Herod, and Pontius Pilate. Is that why they would struggle with it?
Yeah, why would
Yeah.
Christians say, I am not a robot?
Yeah, because they like to think they have free will. Yeah, I'm not sure whether they do or not, but they like to think they have.
Okay.
Yeah. How is it that you can do things entirely independent of the hand and counsel of God? Does God even know you exist? Or did you somehow slip in under the radar apart from the operation, plans, and purpose of God? Are you somehow a God that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, does not know or control?
So they're not a robot, right?
Yeah,
So God does not control them, right?
yeah. So they must think that God is kind of overlooking them, or doesn't care about what they do, or something. Yeah.
Number 4.
Are you proud that you exist apart from God, apart from the hand and counsel that God designates beforehand to occur?
Are you proud that you exist apart from God?
I'm not proud. I think it's just it is the fact.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm. It's not that I care either way. It's just I'm convinced that is the fact that God doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not that I'm proud about it.
You reckon the
It's
Christians are proud about not being a robot?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, or some of them again, not all Christians. You know what I mean? But yeah, some of them who believe in free will, I think they will be proud that they can go against God.
Number 5.
Yeah. If you're not a robot, are you a puppet? If you're not a puppet, are you clay in the potter's hands? If you're not clay in the potter's hands, may we assume that God is clay in your hands and that God must do your bidding?
What a question.
Again,
What a,
yeah, that makes no sense whatsoever. If someone was to believe that, I mean, it makes sense as a sentence. I'm just saying, if someone was to believe that, like you can't be in control of God. Do you
are
know
you
what I mean?
Are you sure?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, may we assume from your very own words that God cannot save you apart from your free will? That God would never violate your free will?
I've heard them say this.
Yeah, then they clearly haven't read the Bible, where God does violate people's free will, like several times.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Pharaoh is the obvious example,
Mm-hmm.
where hardens his heart several times.
9 times it says.
Yeah, but sometimes he hardened his own heart, and sometimes God did it.
So let me tell you about
But
Pharaoh
yeah,
and the story itself. Okay,
yeah,
at the beginning of the story, right? So I don't know if you know this about storytelling, right?
yeah,
In storytelling, you've got 5 acts to the play. Okay,
yeah,
Act 1 is you introduce the characters.
yeah,
Act 2 is you bring in the drama that needs a solution. Act 3 is the plan to overcome that disastrous drama.
yeah,
and solve it. That's Act 3. Act 4 is the false solution that everybody thought was going to work, and it ends in failure. And then Act 5 is the real solution that comes together in the story. Okay? So
Yeah.
in the
That's
story
okay.
of Moses and Pharaoh, it only says one time that Pharaoh hardened his own heart, and that was at the very beginning of the story. And even
Yeah.
before the beginning of the story, God told Moses, go and say, let my people go, and I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. Okay? So then Moses goes over and says, hey, let my people go. And this is the opening of the story. It says Pharaoh hardened his heart about the matter.
Yeah.
This is just storytelling. And then as the story goes on, the next 9 times concerning the 10 plagues, God brought on one plague. And then after that, 9 times it says, God hardened Pharaoh's heart. God hardened Pharaoh. God hardened Pharaoh's heart. But at the beginning of the story, it just casually says, for the very first plague, before the first plague ever showed up, that Pharaoh hardened his own heart about the matter of letting the people go. And then the plague started coming along. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the truth of the matter? God hardened Pharaoh's heart. That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was that many times, and I didn't know there was a prophecy about it. I didn't know that he told Moses beforehand that he would harden Pharaoh's heart. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, try it again from here.
Yeah. May we assume from your very own words that God cannot save you apart from your free will? That God will never violate your free will?
This makes so much laugh.
Yeah.
Funny. I can't tell you how many Christians I've heard over the years, over the past 50 years, say these very words. God cannot save you apart from your free will. He would never violate your free will.
Yeah, and I've got another story, but it'll be going on a tangent, so I'll not do it now. But yeah, I've probably said it before. It's about Satan. Satan knows for a fact that God exists. He's been in his presence.
Yeah.
And so God revealed himself to Satan. And Satan still chose to rebel against God. So that totally destroys the free will argument. Because he could tell everyone on earth that he existed. He could come down and give personal revelation to everyone on earth, and we could still choose not to follow him and not to worship him, which completely destroys the free will argument. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Anyway, yeah. By the way, just thinking, if God did violate your free will, would God suffer a heavy price? If so, what would God suffer for violating your free will?
Yeah, because that would be like an unethical thing to do, right?
Yeah. Plus, what could you do to God? If God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent, all the omnis, what could you couldn't punish God. You couldn't do anything to him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
You could teach God a lesson he'll never forget. And what would that lesson be?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll teach God a thing or two.
So, do you think that Herod and Pilate, if asked, would say that they were operating freely in their role in putting Jesus on the cross?
That's a good question, huh?
Yeah,
Now, if you know the story of Pilate, I don't know much about Herod, but
yeah,
Pilate definitely would not say that he was operating freely because he was under a huge constraint
yeah,
because he wanted to let Jesus go.
yeah,
But the people of the nations of the people of Israel were saying, "Let Barabbas go. Put Jesus on the cross. Let Barabbas go." They were shouting, "Give us Jesus. We want to see him dead."
yeah,
Do is he going to violate the very people he's supposed to rule?
yeah. It was like a consensus, like a vote. Yeah, he as a like an official, he couldn't really go against that. I know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 7.
How about the nations and the peoples of Israel? Did they believe they were operating freely when they demanded that Jesus Christ, our Lord, die that bloody death? I mean, they could have believed they were operating freely, but if it was God's plan for Jesus to die on the cross, then they weren't operating freely because it had to happen. You know what I mean?
I know
It-
exactly what you mean. And
yeah.
God bless concussions. That's what I always say.
All right. Let's stay off the concussions.
Number 8.
Were they operating robotically? Were they marching along to a drum beat that was orchestrated entirely by God? That
Yeah, I threw in another word again.
yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 9.
What is it exactly that makes you so special? I mean, that's a good question for anyone to ask themselves. Yeah, why are you so special? Yeah.
So,
Uh,
so let me tell you a story that I've told often on this channel.
yeah.
Way back in 1977, maybe 76, I was married to an 18-year-old hot girl. She
Nice.
she embarrassed the hell out of me one time at a church potluck. She said, "I'm different. I like music." Do you get it?
Yeah. Not like everyone likes music.
So read number 9 again.
What is it exactly that makes you so special?
So maybe she should have said, "I'm different. I like music, and I don't have any concussions."
This is just rubbing salt into the wound now. You know what I mean? What makes your will so almighty and uninfluenceable?
Wow. Number 11.
When Acts 4:27-28 says that the nations were among those who put Christ on the cross, can we say that you too had a hand in putting him on that tree? Not me. I mean, the people at the time maybe, but not me.
Well,
That happened long before I was alive. I can't be blamed for that.
oh yes. However, we pick up from the story of the big picture given to us by Paul that
Yeah.
Christ died for the sins of all of humanity. That's why I can ask this question. Can we say that you had a hand in putting him on that tree because he died for the sins of all of humanity?
Yeah. But it's not like that anyone nowadays intentionally did it.
So,
I mean, he might have done it because of our sins,
that's
but
and
yeah, it's
which
not. It's not
lead,
because.
which would lead to the thought that he died for your sins, all of your
Yeah.
2,000 years ago. The deal is done. The debt is paid. He said on the cross, "It is finished." And I have had so much
Yeah.
fun telling Christians I was saved 2,000 years ago. And then some Christians said, "You weren't even born 2,000 years ago." Well, you're not getting the big picture. You were saved 2,000 years ago, Wildheart.
Yeah.
You weren't born, but he died for all of the sins of all of humanity. And the deal is done.
Yeah, but when you put it like, can we say that you too had a hand in putting him on that tree?
It's a
No, I didn't.
speech,
I wasn't born.
but you sinned. You were human. You are condemned to concussions and mistakes of all kinds.
Yeah.
And you will die, and Christ died. So there's a point of connection there.
All right. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Christ is
Yeah.
intimately connected with all of humanity because all of humanity dies, and he died.
Yeah. Or do you fancy that if you were alive at that time and were a part of the crowd, you would have been different? You would have stopped them from crucifying the Lord.
Isn't that a funny
Yeah.
question? Knowing human nature, that once you're in a mob, oh my God, you're afraid to go against the mob.
Yeah.
When they're yelling out, "Crucify him, crucify him, crucify him," what are you going to say? No, don't crucify him. Well, you know they're going to turn on you.
Yeah.
Our will is so influenceable.
Yeah.
The mob controls us to a great degree.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. Can a robot be programmed to say, I am not a robot? Yeah, it can. Like I was saying before, with the old DOS system,
Yeah.
like repeat, type something in, then repeat. Yeah, you can get a robot to say anything you want. Yeah.
But my feelings are real, says the robot. I'm different. I like music.
Would it wound your feelings to say that God is operating in you to will and do His good pleasure?
What a question that is, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that would work for me because I'm basically a good person. And I think most people are. But, like, for axe murderers, that means that God is operating axe murderers to do their axe murdering.
So what do axe murderers have against axes?
What's what, sorry?
Why would axe murderers want to murder an axe? What do they got against axes? All right, go ahead.
No, I mean people who murder people with axes.
Oh, that.
That means that God is forcing them to do His good pleasure as well, which must mean that God wants people to be, chopped up by axe murderers.
Well, they pay attention now. We're discussing Acts chapter 4, which says that the people put Christ on the cross in the specific counsel and designation of God. And our complementary scripture at the very beginning, chapter 2, read it again.
Oh, sorry. This one, given up in the specific counsel and foreknowledge of God, you gibbeting by the hand of the lawless,
Do you know
assassinate.
Do you know what the word gibbeting means?
Isn't it something to do with chickens?
No. It's an old English word. It means to drive a stake through a man's chest or something like that.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's good.
So it's a very serious, very painful kind of death to stab somebody right in the chest with a spear or a stick or a stake. So we're talking about God, the axe murderer, because God killed Christ. And we can blame Herod and Pontius Pilate, the Roman government and the peoples of Israel for it. But he, the one, was given up in the specific counsel and foreknowledge of God, even though he used these other characters to gibbet him, to assassinate him. They were lawless. So now you've learned a new word, gibbeting.
Yeah. So you can say that anyone who has ever committed a crime has done in the, what does it say, in the, because God wanted them to.
In other words, God has some type of weird big plan for all of us, because one day all of this will make sense. Because who died a worse death than Christ? I mean, you might be able to, say, well, Lizzie Borden had an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. But yet, yeah, I'm just seeing that God was responsible for this axe murder.
Yeah.
So this
So
this gives us a clue that no matter what kind of suffering we are talking about, what type of evil we are talking about, God has a hand in it.
Yeah.
Blame Pilate and Herod all you want, but they only did what the hand and the counsel of God designated beforehand to occur.
Yeah.
And this is the event, the one event that is the crisis point of the eons. Christ died and was entombed, and 3 days later, God raised him from the dead.
Yeah. So like Charles Manson, God made Charles Manson do the horrific things that he did.
That's the only conclusion we can come to, is that all our experiences, no matter what they are, in the ultimate sense, are from the hand of God. And that God will one day make them all right.
Okay. For of a truth, in this city were gathered against thy holy boy Jesus, whom thou dost anoint, both Herod and Pontius Pilate, together with the nations and the people of Israel, to do whatever thy hand and thy counsel designates beforehand to occur. And this next bit makes me laugh. And as the super brain JG might ask. Super brain JG. Who is who is responsible for the words coming out of the mouth of Herod and Pontius Pilate?
Do you know why I put this up here?
No.
Because just 2 or 3 days ago, JG asked Dennis, because Dennis said something that pissed off JG, or JG wanted to contradict or something. He said to Dennis, who is responsible for the words coming out of your mouth? Get it? It was a trap.
Yeah.
But Dennis was clever. He said, well, the words did come out of my mouth, but I am animated by God.
Yeah, that's a good answer, actually, from your point of view. Yeah.
And so I thought, well, maybe JG could ask about Herod and Pontius Pilate. Hey, who's responsible for the words coming out of your mouth when they were appointed and designated by the hand of God to put Christ on the cross?
Yeah. Well, we who know Acts 4, 27, 28, know that the words that fell out of their mouths came from the hand and the counsel of God, designated beforehand to occur. 8 and 11, January 31st, 2026. Yes.
Like apples?
I do like apples, yeah.
I like them apples.
Yeah, that was pretty good actually. I enjoyed that. Both the reading and the discussion. That was good. Thank you very much.
Ace,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go. So it was a good show, and Walter, it was good to see you, and
You
grace
too,
and
man.
peace. Yep, and grace and peace to all of you.
Thank you, Sven.
Yep,
Cheers, man. Thanks
Yep.
a lot.
yep.
Okay, are you ready for a treat?
Yes, always.
Okay, this is a sermon from way back in the 1940s by A. Enoch.
Cool. I'm going to be listening, but I've got to be something to eat. So I'm still listening, but I'll be right back.
Okay.
The riches of the glory of the enjoyment of his allotment. This is one of the most wonderful series of words that is found in Scriptures. We have been considering the lot, and we have seen that it was introduced into Israel in order that God would have his way with them. God gave them the law so that in general they knew his will. But he never could have given them a book to tell them what to do in every particular instance. And so they had the lot in Israel and appealed to Jehovah whenever they were not clear as to what his intention was. More important that we see that the lot was not a gamble, not a chance, but the very opposite. It took the determination out of the hands of men and put it into the hands of Jehovah. Then, in Israel, they used the lot to determine which goat was to be sacrificed and to divide the land among the tribes, and every year to apportion the land among the farmers. And there we have a marvelous picture which will help us to understand our allotment. The land was divided into groups of parcels, and each group had a man at the head of it. And first of all, the lot determined which group should have which parcel of land. Then each farmer was allotted his particular portion in the head of his group. And so we have our allotment in Christ. First of all, we must know what is his allotment before we can know what is ours, because we share it with him. Now, one of the most remarkable things in connection with our allotment in the heavenlies, in the celestials, is the fact that it is always described and designated by means of political terms. I don't know whether you noticed it or not, but when you come to think of heaven, of the celestials, you will find very little in the Scriptures except the political divisions that there are there. It's just as though if a Martian should come to Earth, we wouldn't tell him about the different races of mankind, or about their colors, or about their characteristics, nothing of that kind. We would just tell him about the different forms of government. Here on the earth, we have empires and we have dominion. At least in the British government, there's quite a distinction there. in their kingdoms, in their jurisdictions, and so on. So when we come to consider the allotment among the celestials, we will find it almost always in political terms. We're not told much about them except the different forms of government. Of course, we know something about them by inference. For instance, we know that whatever creatures there are in the heavens must be mentally alert, because they are now learning of the multifarious wisdom of God through his dealings with us. And that certainly requires considerable mental power. Very few of the Lord's people ever realize that during their whole lifetime. But if they are designated by means of political terms dealing with government, then heaven must be a very, very different place from what we have been taught. To begin with, there wasn't any government on the earth. Government was only introduced after men were so sunk in sin that they had to be restrained. And government will vanish at the consummation. On earth, you see, government is a sign of insubjection, insubordination, just as on earth. So that in heaven, the creatures there are out of tune with God. And we can look at it from a different standpoint again. They must be that, because it will be our privilege to bring them back to God. If we don't see that heaven is in a state of opposition to God, just as it is on earth, we'll fail to realize what our allotment really is. Yet confess in being a blessing to the celestial beings, thus its Israel will be a blessing to the nations of earth. Politically, through the kingdom and the king. Religiously, through the priesthood. We will be like Israel, both priest and king, but in a much higher sphere. Now, before we go further, I'd like to emphasize the fact that the powers among the celestials are opposed to us and to God. We will find that in the 8th of Romans. Remember, in the 8th of Romans, there the apostle speaks of our opponents and gives us a list of the things that will not separate us from the love of God. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor messenger, that's the word is generally translated angel, nor sovereignty, nor the present, nor and so on. But I simply want to draw attention to the fact here that the so-called angels are among those who would separate us from the love of God if they could. That's quite the opposite of what most of us have taken in with our mother's milk. I remember years ago, we lived in a house, St. Louis. It was owned by Catholics. They lived downstairs and we lived upstairs. And he showed me his books that he had in school. He didn't go to public school like I did. He went to a special school. And I'll never forget some of the things in those books. My memory isn't so very good, but there are a few things like that that stick. Everybody, according to that book, had a guardian angel. I suppose the Catholics still teach that. I don't know what to teach, but I suppose they still teach. Everybody has their own guardian angel. Well, if they changed that to devil, they'd been a good deal closer to it. The Jews have guardian angels or devils? Oh, only one. Well, the nation of the Jews have a messenger who stands up for them. That's a different matter. This is putting messengers in a very, very different place. There are a few exceptions. Even on earth, there are some exceptions, you know. And here we have messengers and sovereignties. Sovereignties are against us. Now, sovereignty may be a little difficult for you to understand, but it means the highest form of government. The final appeal in the British Dominion, it would be the king, I suppose. so that the highest forms among the celestials will not be able to separate us from the love of God. But there's no scripture that I know of where they're going to protect us from evil. So it is wherever these words occur. In Ephesians, in the 21st verse of the first chapter, we have something similar. Speaking of Christ, seeking him at his right hand among the celestials, up over every sovereignty and authority and power and lordship. So you see, he is going to get a place superior to them in order to rule them. They need Christ in heaven just as much as they need him on earth. And he is going to be the one who will exercise his prerogatives as head over all these political powers in the heavens. And we will be associated with him. We must understand these things, or else I don't think we'll be disappointed when we get to heaven, because we'll be beyond that sort of thing. But we'll find it a very, very different place than what we expected, unless we know something about these truths in Paul's epistle. Then we have the same record in 1 Corinthians 15:24. I suppose this is so unlike what you generally hear that it's wise for me to give you more than one passage. Thereafter comes the consummation, whenever he may be giving up the kingdom to his God and Father, whenever he should be nullifying all sovereignty and all authority and power. These are the things that obtain during the eons, before God is all in all. For he must be reigning until he should be placing all his enemies under his feet. These are enemies, and so on. Our allotment, then, you see, will be concerned with politics. I've been very careful to keep out of politics. I worked for the government for a little while, and that more or less cured me. I tried to work, I don't say that I worked, but I tried to. They wouldn't let me. And politics up there will be a very different matter. So we're all interested, not in politics on earth, so much as politics among the celestials. So you will see that in every passage where these political powers are mentioned, it is in connection with insubjection and sin. Because in the allotment to which we are going, it will be our function, corresponding to Israel on the earth, to deal with that. Christ will have an iron club. Have any of you ever seen a shepherd's club? Well, I've seen them, and I was quite impressed by them. I didn't get any too close. It's something that's fastened around the wrist of a shepherd, maybe of wood. The one I saw was of wood, but it had iron spikes in the end, kind of a ball at the end, with iron spikes. And that is the figure that God uses of the reign of Christ over the earth. In the celestials, there will be what corresponds to that. We won't need any iron there, but there will be force, and we will be with him in dealing with it. So it's political. I thought I couldn't understand that. We're not in the kingdom. And here we have the kingdom in Colossians. But when I began to look at it closely, I no longer had any trouble. Here, it's connected with our allotment. So it makes you confident for the part of the allotment of the saints in light, who rescues us out of the jurisdiction of darkness and transports us into the kingdom of the Son of his love, in whom we are having the deliverance, and so on and so forth. This is a present thing. That's the kingdom that is in force today. But it isn't the kingdom of Christ, the anointed. It's the kingdom of the Son. Entirely different matter. In this kingdom, it's a spiritual one, a figurative kingdom. It has to do with our spirit, with reference to spirit beings, this celestial opponent that we have. Those spoken of in the last chapter of Ephesians, is a reference to them. We are at war. We don't obey them. We stand against them. And I think it'd be a fine thing if we could all get this clear. But no subjection to the present spirit powers of wickedness among the celestials.
Well, sir, let's close up shop. Thanks, boys and girls, for stopping by. Still time to go on a Saturday night date. That is, if you're in California. Thanks, Wild Heart, for hanging out with me. And Brad and God's Son and Abicus. Deborah and Donna. There's Tim Theo.
Cheers, man. Sorry, I was just eating. I didn't want to interrupt.
That's very polite of you. So I hope you had a good time visiting this time.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you very much.
And remember, it's still possible to go down to the hardware store and buy some bubble wrap.
Yeah. I might just do that. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Grace to you and peace from God our Father. Leave me a thumbs up, leave comments, and share this episode with someone. Amen.